I'm 32, and I was moving from my rental house to an apartment across town. I'd been packing for a week. Most of my stuff was in boxes. The couch was the last big item. It was an old sectional, decent condition, but too big for my new place. I posted it on Facebook Marketplace Thursday morning, listed it for $50, firm. Within an hour, I had 5 messages. The first guy said he'd take it, could come that afternoon. His name was David. Profile looked normal, picture of him and a dog, couple mutual friends. I said, sure, come at 3. Gave him my address. 3 p.m. came. I heard a truck pull up. I looked out the window. White pickup, older model, rust on the sides. A guy got out, 30s, tall, wearing a hoodie and jeans. He walked to my door, knocked. I opened it. He smiled, said, "Hey, I'm David, here for the couch." I let him in, showed him to the living room. The couch was against the far wall. He walked around it, checked the cushions, tested the springs, said, "Yeah, this is perfect, I'll take it." He handed me $50 cash. I folded it, put it in my pocket. He said, "Mind if I pull my truck around back? Easier to load through the back door." I said, "Sure." He went outside. I heard his truck start, drive around to the alley. I went to my back door, unlocked it, opened it. He was backing his truck up to the fence. He got out, walked to the door. I said, "You need help carrying it?" He said, "Nah, I got it. If you just want to hold doors open, that'd be great." I said, "Okay." He walked through my house to the living room, started dismantling the sectional. The couch came apart in 3 pieces. He lifted the first piece, heavy, but he managed it, carried it through my kitchen, out the back door, loaded it in his truck, came back for the second piece. I was standing in my kitchen, out of the way, letting him work. He carried the second piece out, came back for the third. This one was the corner piece, biggest part. He lifted it, started walking. As he passed me, he said, "Hey, do you have any tools? This piece isn't fitting right. I might need to take the legs off." I said, "Yeah, I've got a toolbox in my garage. Want me to grab it?" He said, "No, that's okay. I can get it. Where's your garage?" I pointed. Through that door, left side. He nodded, set the couch piece down, walked to the garage door, opened it, went inside. I waited in the kitchen, heard him moving things around in the garage, opening drawers. I figured he was looking for the right tool. After about 30 seconds, I called out, "It's the red toolbox on the shelf." No response. I walked to the garage door, looked in. He wasn't there. The toolbox was on the shelf, unopened. I felt confused. Where did he go? Then I heard it. Footsteps. Upstairs. In my bedroom. My heart jumped. I called out, "Hello?" The footsteps stopped. I walked to the stairs, looked up. David was standing at the top, in the hallway, just standing there, looking down at me. I said, "What are you doing up there?" He said, "Sorry, I was looking for your bathroom. I really need to go." I said, "The bathroom is down here, by the kitchen." He said, "Oh, my bad." Started walking down the stairs slowly. I backed up, gave him space. He reached the bottom, walked past me. I pointed to the bathroom, right there. He said, "Thanks." Went inside, closed the door. I stood there feeling uneasy. Something was wrong. Why would he go upstairs looking for a bathroom? The garage doesn't lead upstairs. He would have had to come back through the kitchen, past me, to get to the stairs. I didn't see him do that. I walked to the front door. It was closed. I tried the handle, locked. The deadbolt was turned from the inside. I hadn't locked it. I'd left it unlocked so he could go in and out. My stomach dropped. I looked toward the bathroom. The door was still closed. I could hear water running. I quietly walked to my back door, tried it. Also locked. Deadbolt turned. He'd locked both doors. He'd trapped me inside my own house. I grabbed my phone, started dialing 911. Then the bathroom door opened.
David stepped out, saw me with my phone, smiled, said, "Everything okay?" I said, "Why did you lock my doors?" He looked at the front door, then back at me. "Did I? Sorry, a habit. I always lock doors behind me. My mom taught me that." His voice was calm, too calm. I said, "I need you to unlock them and leave, now." He said, "Sure, no problem. I just need to finish loading the couch." He walked past me, back to the living room, picked up the corner piece, started carrying it toward the back door. I followed him, keeping distance. He got to the back door, set the couch down, reached for the deadbolt, didn't turn it. Instead, he said, "Actually, before I go, can I ask you something?" I said, "What?" He said, "Do you live here alone?" My blood went cold. I lied, said, "No, my boyfriend is coming home any minute." He smiled. "That's weird, because your marketplace listing says moving to a one-bedroom apartment. That's usually code for single." I didn't respond. He continued, "Also, I saw your bedroom. Only one toothbrush in the bathroom. No men's clothes in the closet. I think you're alone." I took a step back. "Get out of my house." He didn't move, just stood there, blocking the back door. "I will, but first I want to look around some more. You've got a nice place." He started walking toward the stairs. I ran past him to the front door, unlocked the deadbolt, threw it open, ran outside, kept running down my front steps across my yard to my neighbor's house, pounded on their door. They opened it, an older couple. I was crying, shaking, told them someone was in my house. They called the police. The husband grabbed a baseball bat. We went back to my house, stood on the lawn, waiting. My front door was still open, no movement inside. After 5 minutes, a police car pulled up. 2 officers got out. I told them everything. They went inside, searched the house, came back out, said no one was there. I went inside with them. They'd searched every room, every closet, the garage, nothing. But David's truck was gone. The couch pieces he'd already loaded were gone. The last piece was still in my living room where he'd left it. The officers checked the back door, unlocked. They asked if anything was missing. I went upstairs, checked my bedroom. My jewelry box was open. A necklace my grandmother gave me was gone. My laptop was moved. It had been on my desk. Now it was on my bed. The officers took a report, asked for David's Facebook profile. I pulled it up. The profile was deleted. Gone. Like it never existed. The officers said they'd investigate, asked if I had security cameras. I didn't. They suggested I get some, change my locks, be more careful about who I let inside. They left. I called a locksmith, changed every lock that night. I stayed at my friend's place for a week. When I came back to pack, I found something that made me feel sick. In my bathroom, behind the toilet, a small camera, wireless, still recording, battery almost dead. The officers came back, collected it, said they'd check for fingerprints. They never found David, never identified him. The camera had hours of footage of me in my bathroom, getting ready, showering. The profile he used was fake. The mutual friends were fake accounts he'd created. He'd been planning this. I never sold anything online again. Never let strangers into your home alone. Always meet in public. All right, story number 2. I was selling my daughter's old dresser on Facebook Marketplace for $75. She'd moved out for college and I was turning her room into a home office. A woman messaged me saying she'd take it, could pick it up Sunday morning. I said sure. She showed up at 10 a.m. with her husband. They seemed normal, looked at the dresser, said they'd take it. That's when everything went wrong. I'm 48 and I live in a suburb of Denver. My daughter Emily left for college in August. Her room sat empty for 2 months before I decided to convert it. I needed a home office. I work from home as a graphic designer. Her old furniture had to go. The dresser was nice, solid wood, 6 drawers. I listed it for $75. Got a message from a woman named Linda on Saturday. She said she'd take it, could come Sunday morning around 10. I said perfect. She said she'd bring her husband to help carry it. I appreciated that. The dresser was heavy, Sunday morning, I was drinking coffee when I heard a knock. 10 a.m. exactly. I opened the door. A woman and a man, both in their 40s. She was short, blonde. He was tall, bald, wearing work clothes. They introduced themselves, Linda and Mark. I let them in, led them upstairs to Emily's room. Linda walked around the dresser, opened drawers, checked for damage, said, "This is perfect, we'll take it." Mark said, "Great, mind if we take the drawers out first? Easier to carry that way." I said, "Of course, whatever you need." They started removing drawers, stacking them in the hallway. I went back downstairs, let them work. I could hear them talking, moving the dresser. After about 5 minutes, Linda called down, "Hey, do you have a screwdriver? There's a back panel we need to remove." I said, "Yeah, hold on." I went to my garage, grabbed a screwdriver from my toolbox, brought it upstairs, handed it to Mark. He said thanks. I went back downstairs, sat in my living room, checked my email. After another 5 minutes, I heard them coming down the stairs, Mark carrying the dresser frame, Linda carrying drawers. They made a trip to their van, came back for more drawers. On their third trip up, I noticed something. Linda went upstairs, but didn't come back down. I waited. Mark made 2 more trips, loading drawers, but Linda hadn't come back down. I called up, "Linda, do you need help with something?" No answer. I walked to the stairs, called again, "Linda." Still nothing. I went upstairs. Emily's room was empty. The dresser was gone. The drawers were gone. I walked down the hall, checking rooms. My bedroom door was open. I'd closed it that morning. I pushed it wider. Linda was inside, standing at my dresser, going through my jewelry box. She looked up, saw me, didn't look surprised, didn't look guilty, just smiled, said, "Oh, hey, sorry, I was looking for your bathroom." I said, "My bathroom is across the hall. Why are you going through my jewelry?" She closed the box. "I wasn't. I was just looking. You have some beautiful pieces." I stepped into the room. "I need you to leave now." She held up her hands. "Okay, no problem. I was just admiring." She walked past me, out of my room, down the stairs. I followed her. She went outside, got in the van. Mark was already in the driver's seat, engine running. I walked to my front door, watched them drive away. Then I went back upstairs, checked my jewelry box. 3 necklaces were missing. A ring my mother gave me, my wedding ring from my first marriage. I grabbed my phone, called the police. I gave them Linda's Facebook profile, her phone number. The police said they'd follow up. I went through my whole house, checking what else was missing. My laptop was still there, TV, nothing else seemed gone, just the jewelry. The police called back an hour later. Linda's profile was fake. The phone number was a prepaid cell, disconnected. They asked if I had security cameras. I said no. They said without evidence there wasn't much they could do. I'd let them in, given them access. I felt stupid, violated. I checked my bedroom more carefully. That's when I found it. My closet door was open. I never leave it open. I walked over, looked inside. My clothes were pushed to one side, in the back corner, on the floor. A duffel bag. It wasn't mine. I didn't recognize it. I carefully pulled it out, unzipped it. Inside were items: a crowbar, duct tape, zip ties, gloves, a knife. My heart stopped. This wasn't about stealing a dresser. This wasn't about jewelry. They'd been planning something else. I called the police back, told them about the bag. They came immediately, took the bag as evidence, asked me to describe Linda and Mark again, took detailed notes. They said they'd run the items for fingerprints. The police said I was lucky. They believed Linda and Mark were casing my house. The dresser was an excuse to get inside, see the layout, check for security. The bag was left intentionally. They were planning to come back, at night, when I was asleep. The crowbar for breaking in, the tape and ties for restraining me, the knife for whatever came next. The officer said I should stay somewhere else for a few days. They'd patrol my street, keep watch. I packed a bag, went to my sister's house, stayed there for a week. The police never found Linda and Mark. The fingerprints on the bag came back to a convicted burglar, but he'd been dead for 3 years. The prints were planted, a false lead. I installed cameras, a security system, motion lights, changed all my locks, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they knew where I lived, that they'd seen inside my house, that they were waiting. One night, 3 weeks later, I was lying in bed, around 2 a.m. I heard something, downstairs, a sound like someone trying the door handle. I grabbed my phone, checked my security camera app. The front door camera showed nothing, no one there. But the back door camera, the feed was black, like something was covering the lens. I called 911, whispered I thought someone was trying to break in. They said they'd send officers. I stayed in my room, door locked, lights off. I could hear sirens approaching. Then I heard car doors, voices outside, officers checking my property. After 10 minutes, one called my phone, said they'd searched. No one was there, but my back door camera had been spray painted black, deliberately disabled, and there were footprints in the flower bed below my bedroom window, fresh. Someone had been standing there, looking in. The officers took photos, measurements, said they'd increase patrols, but I knew. Linda and Mark had come back. They'd been watching, waiting for the right moment. I sold my house 2 months later, moved to a different city, started over. I don't sell anything online anymore, because I learned that sometimes, when you invite strangers into your home, they never really leave. Always meet buyers in public. Never give out your home address. Hit that like button if you're still watching. All right, final story.
I posted an old desk on Facebook Marketplace for free because I just needed it gone before my lease ended. A guy messaged me immediately saying he'd take it and could come that evening. I said sure. He showed up alone, carried the desk to his car, then came back inside and asked if he could use my bathroom. I said yes. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was not noticing he never actually used it. I'm 26, and I was moving out of my first apartment, studio, downtown. The lease was ending, and I was moving back home to save money. I had accumulated too much furniture for a studio, including a desk I'd bought on Craigslist when I moved in. It was old, scratched, but functional. I listed it for free on Facebook Marketplace Monday night. Within 10 minutes, I had 15 messages. The first guy said he'd take it, could come that same night around 8 p.m. His name was Tyler. Profile looked normal. I said sure. Gave him my apartment number. He said he'd be there. 8 p.m. came. Knock on my door. I checked the peephole. A guy in his 30s, jeans and a t-shirt. I opened the door. He said, "Hey, I'm Tyler, here for the desk." I let him in, pointed to the desk in the corner. He walked over, looked at it, tested the drawers, said, "Perfect, this'll work great." He lifted it, carried it to the door. I held the door open. He took it down the hall. I could see him through my doorway. He carried it to the elevator, set it down, waited for the elevator. It arrived. He loaded it in. The doors closed. I started to close my apartment door when I heard the elevator ding again. The doors opened. Tyler stepped out, without the desk. He walked back to my door. I opened it wider, confused. He said, "Hey, sorry, but do you mind if I use your bathroom real quick? Long drive here." I hesitated. Something felt off, but I didn't want to be rude. I said, Sure, it's just through there." I pointed to my bathroom, small studio so everything was visible. He said thanks, walked to the bathroom, closed the door. I stood by my front door, waiting. After a few seconds, I heard the water turn on, run for maybe 5 seconds, turn off, but the door didn't open. I waited. 30 seconds, a minute, no sound, no movement. I called out, "Everything okay?" He said, "Yeah, just a sec." Another minute passed. I knocked on the door. "Hey, are you all right?" No answer. I knocked harder. "Tyler!" Nothing. I tried the handle. Locked. I said through the door, "Tyler,
I need you to come out now." Still nothing. I pulled out my phone, started to dial 911. Then I heard a sound. Not from the bathroom, from my closet on the other side of my studio. A shuffling sound. I turned. My closet door was closed. I'd left it open. I'd been packing clothes from it all day. I walked over slowly, reached for the handle. Before I could touch it, the bathroom door opened behind me. Tyler stepped out, smiling. "Sorry about that. Stomach issues." I spun around. "What were you doing?" he said. "Using the bathroom, like I said." I looked at the bathroom, then at him. "That took a long time." He shrugged. "Sorry, like I said, stomach problems." He started walking toward my front door. I followed him, keeping distance. He got to the door, turned. "Thanks for the desk. Have a good move." He walked out. I closed the door behind him, locked it immediately. Chain, deadbolt, everything. I stood there, heart pounding. Something was very wrong. I walked back to my closet, opened it. My clothes were pushed to one side, in the back, a space big enough for a person to fit. And on the floor, a footprint, fresh, in the dust. He'd been in my closet while I was waiting by the bathroom. He'd gone in there. Why? I checked my apartment, walked through every corner. Nothing seemed missing. My laptop was still on my desk. Wait, my desk was gone. He'd already taken it. I checked my drawers, where I kept important documents. Everything was there. Passport, social security card, birth certificate. I couldn't figure out what he'd been looking for. Then I noticed something. My window. It was unlocked. I always keep it locked. I live on the 3rd floor, but there's a fire escape right outside. I walked over, looked out. The window was unlatched, pushed up slightly, just an inch, enough to get fingers under.
My stomach dropped. He'd unlocked my window from the inside. He was planning to come back. I slammed it shut, locked it, checked the other window, also unlocked. He'd gone to both. While I was distracted, waiting outside the bathroom, unlocked every way into my apartment. I grabbed my phone, called the police, told them everything. A stranger had been in my apartment, unlocked my windows. They said they'd send someone. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later. I showed them the windows, the footprint in the closet, explained what happened. They took notes, asked for Tyler's Facebook profile. I pulled it up, and the profile was gone, deleted. They asked if anything was missing. I said no, just the desk he was supposed to take. The officers checked my windows, the locks, said I should get a security bar, something to wedge in the frame. They couldn't arrest someone for unlocking a window, no proof of intent. They said they'd patrol the area, keep an eye out. But without the desk or Tyler's real identity, there wasn't much they could do. They left. I packed an overnight bag, went to my friend's apartment, stayed there for 3 days. During those 3 days, something happened that confirmed my worst fear. My landlord called, said a neighbor reported seeing someone on my fire escape at night, around 2 a.m., trying my window. The neighbor yelled out their window. The person ran, climbed down the fire escape, disappeared. The police came back, checked the fire escape, found fresh scratches on my window frame. Someone had been trying to pry it open. The lock had held, barely. They said I needed to move, find a new place. This person knew where I lived, knew the layout, had unlocked the windows once, would try again. I called my landlord, explained the situation, asked to break my lease early. He agreed. I moved out that weekend, stayed at my friend's place until I found a new apartment. Different neighborhood, different building, no fire escape. When I went back to pack, I noticed something that made my blood run cold.
My mailbox had been pried open, not broken, just opened with a key or a tool. Inside was mail, but also something else. A note, handwritten. It said, "Sorry I missed you." I showed the note to the police. They took it as evidence, checked for fingerprints. Nothing. The paper was generic, the handwriting was printed, block letters, untraceable. They asked if anyone had told me I was moving. I said no, only my landlord and my friend. They said Tyler must have been watching, saw me packing, saw me leave with bags, knew I wasn't coming back regularly. The note was his way of letting me know he'd tried, that he'd been there, looking for me. The police increased patrols, but they never found him, never identified him. The Facebook profile was completely fake, created just to message me, used once, then deleted. I moved into my new apartment, top floor, no fire escape, security building with cameras, doorman. I felt safer, but I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still looking, still watching. 3 weeks after I moved, I got a Facebook message from a new account. No profile picture, generic name, John Smith. The message said, "Hey, saw your desk listing. Is it still available?" I hadn't posted any new listings, hadn't sold anything since Tyler. I blocked the account immediately, reported it, but the message stayed with me. How did they know about the desk? How did they find my new account? I'd changed my privacy settings, made everything private, friends only.
Then I realized Tyler had been in my apartment for almost 10 minutes, in my closet, in my bathroom. He'd had time to look around, time to find things. I checked my apartment again, my new apartment, looked for anything out of place. Everything seemed fine. But then I checked my laptop, the one I'd had in my old apartment. I opened it, checked the camera. There was a piece of tape over it. I always keep tape over my camera, for privacy, but this tape was different. It was clear tape, not black electrical tape like I usually used. I peeled it off. Underneath was my camera. I opened my camera settings, checked the activity log. My heart stopped. The camera had been accessed remotely, multiple times over the past 3 weeks. Someone had been watching me through my laptop camera. The access times were always late at night, between 2 and 4 a.m. when I was sleeping. I ran a virus scan, found malware, spyware, installed 3 weeks ago, the same night Tyler took the desk. He must have done it. While I was distracted, opened my laptop, installed the software, covered the camera with clear tape so I wouldn't notice it was different. He'd been watching me, in my new apartment, seeing where I moved, learning my new routine. I wiped my laptop completely, reinstalled everything, changed all my passwords, filed another police report. The police said this was escalating, recommended I get a restraining order. But against who? They didn't have Tyler's real name, didn't have an address, couldn't identify him. The restraining order would be useless. They suggested I disappear digitally, delete my Facebook, my Instagram, everything, make it harder for him to track me. I did, deleted every social media account, got a new phone number, new email, started completely over. That was 6 months ago. I haven't had any incidents since. No messages, no notes, no signs of Tyler. But I still check my windows every night, still cover my laptop camera with black tape, still look over my shoulder when I'm walking home. Because I know he's out there, somewhere. Maybe he moved on, found someone else, another free desk listing, another unsuspecting person. Or maybe he's still watching, waiting, being patient. I'll never know. And that's the worst part. The not knowing. The wondering if every stranger on the street is him, if every new Facebook friend request is him using a different name. I posted a free desk online because I needed it gone. What I got instead was a stalker who invaded my home, my privacy, my sense of safety. And I'll never get that back. I'll never feel completely safe again, because I learned that free isn't always free.
Sometimes the price is higher than you could ever imagine. That's it for tonight. 3 people who invited strangers into their homes and paid the price. Never meet at your home address. Always meet in public. And subscribe to SpookFeed if you want more true stories that'll make you rethink selling online. Stay safe out there.